We're going into Lidl to see if we can get this $36 Thanksgiving dinner that feeds 10. Well, hello family, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. Now let's go into Lidl's and see what we can get on this Thanksgiving Feed 10 under $36. Did we keep it under $36 or did we go over? So did we do it? Yes. So they had turkeys for 25 cents a pound, limited to. Plus I got everything else that was on their Thanksgiving dinner for 10 people under $36. So we got all the things on their list, plus 2 turkeys. Plus, I got a few extra things too. All right, let's take this home and start doing a grocery haul. So we're home. We have everything on the table. Now, I did get 2 turkeys since they were limited to, well, actually, I think it was limited 45 pounds. And each one of these turkeys is right around $14.55. and $13.76. So we're only going to have 1 turkey for our Thanksgiving dinner. The other one I am going to turn into our homemade canned soup and casserole starter. But let's remove one of these turkeys and talk about everything for the Thanksgiving meal. So the flyer for this week had a list of items over here that you need to purchase in order to keep everything on this table for a Thanksgiving dinner for 10 people under $36. And I followed it to the T, except I did make one mistake. I'll explain that to you in a minute. So the first item is a frozen turkey. And it says if you keep your frozen turkey under 14 pounds, then you will be able to keep the cost under 36 pounds. So that's why we were looking for a turkey under 14 pounds, and this one is $13.76. Regular price at $1.29 a pound was $17.75. We were able to get this for 25 cents a pound, and we spent $3.44 for a whole turkey. We have a 3-pound bag of onions, $1.65. We do not need all of these onions for our dinner. We will use at least 1, maybe 2. 5-pound bag of russet potatoes, $2.99. Again, we probably won't use all of these potatoes. I'm probably going to use about half of this to make mashed potatoes, and the other half we can have for a later meal. The mistake I made is it calls for 3 pounds of sweet potatoes. I mistakenly read that it's 1 pound, which is 2 potatoes. I'm going to have to go back and get some more potatoes to equal the 3 pounds. That's 1 pound and 10 ounces. So I need to go back and get 1 pound and 6 ounces of potatoes to come up to the 3 pounds. My bag is ripping. And the sweet potatoes were 69 cents a pound. I'm going to go back to the store tomorrow and I'll pick up the extra potatoes we need to make the 3 pounds. Called for a bag of baby carrots. I am going to turn this into a brown sugar glazed carrots as a side dish. And the carrots were 89 cents, and it's 1 pound. We have a stalk of celery, and the celery was 95 cents. We're not going to need all of this. I used the celery to flavor broth of cooking the turkey, plus in stuffing, which I'll explain that in a few minutes also. But the celery was 95 cents. They had their box of stuffing mix, and they had a choice of chicken, turkey, or cornbread. I went ahead and picked up the cornbread one. And this was 89 cents, but we saved 10 cents with the in-store coupon, so this actually cost 79 cents. I picked up a bottle of the poultry seasoning, and this was 99 cents. We're not going to need all this either, just maybe a teaspoon or two teaspoons, and the rest of it will go in our pantry shelf. Calls for one of these envelopes of gravy mix, and this is a brown gravy mix. I'm not too fond of, family, if you've been around, you know, I'm not a big fan of these instant gravy mixes, but it was part of the list. I bought it, but we're not going to use it. We're going to make homemade turkey gravy with the turkey drippings we get from cooking our turkey. So this, anybody in my family wants it, they're more than welcome to have it. But it was on the list. I wanted to buy it to include it into the price. And this was only 35 cents. Another item was their boxed macaroni and cheese. This is fine when you're in a pinch and you need to get something on the table. This is not my favorite. I'm not a big fan of this at all. We will be making homemade macaroni and cheese, but it was on their list. I wanted to see if we could keep it under that $36 point. So I went ahead and got this, and this was 56 cents. Got a container of the French onion crisp to go on top of the green bean casserole. I prefer making my own, and since we have extra onions, I'm debating whether I'm just going to use this or make my own. But I think we'll go ahead and use it since we have it. And this was $3.49. For the green bean casserole, we needed cream of mushroom soup, and we needed a can of green beans. So I went ahead and picked that up. The soup was 99 cents. And the green beans was 69 cents. Picked up a can of their cranberry sauce, and that was $1.49. You know we make our own homemade chicken broth, family, but this was on the list. I went ahead and picked it up. It is 1 quart or 32 ounces of their brand of chicken broth. This is for gravy or seasoning, or I really don't even know what you use it for because stuffing mix is already flavored. They gave us gravy mix. I'm not even sure what we're supposed to use this for, but it was on the list. I picked it up, and that was $1.49. We have a 12 count of their brand of Hawaiian rolls. These aren't too bad. Probably going to use them anyway because we have it. And that was $1.79. We have a can of pumpkin puree, a can of evaporated milk, and plus we have the 2 count pie crust for the pumpkin pie, as well as their frozen whipped cream. That's everything we're going to need for the pumpkin pie. The evaporated milk was 99 cents. The pie crust was $3.99. We only need one of the 2 that's in this box. The pumpkin was $1.19, and the whipped topping was 99 cents. We have a bag of the mini marshmallows to go into the sweet potato casserole, and that was 89 cents. So that is everything from the store we got. Now, when I did the math and took off the other things that were not going to be used for a Thanksgiving dinner, such as the second turkey, Liam, my grandson, texted me while I was at the store, and he says, "Grammy, I need some goldfish." We bought him some goldfish, dropped it off to him, so he already has his goldfish. Plus, I bought a 9.9 pounds of parboiled rice. This is actually going to be something very interesting we're going to make really soon. And if I can have the grandkids over here while we make it, that would be even better. So I did pick this up. So the goldfish was $8.99 and the rice was $7.99. And my second turkey was $3.61. Not counting those items in this Thanksgiving dinner, we spent $32.26. Now I know I need to go back and pick up a couple more sweet potatoes to add to the 1.63 pounds, come up to the 3 pounds we need for Thanksgiving. But everything here was $32.26. I do have to pay taxes in the state of Virginia, so that's just an added cost. But did it meet their requirement of the whole list under $36? Yes, it did. So I will be cooking this up next week, and I can't wait to share that with you. Now, besides the things they have on their list that you buy at Lidl's for their Thanksgiving dinner, there are certain staples we have to have in our house and in our pantry to finish this dish. For instance, for the sweet potatoes, we're going to need cinnamon, syrup, brown sugar, and butter. Those are things we have in the house. But if you had to go buy that, that's an additional cost. For the mashed potatoes, we're going to need butter and milk. For the glazed carrots that I'm planning on turning these baby carrots into, we need brown sugar, garlic, butter, and oil. For the turkey, I'm going to need oil and spices. For the pumpkin pie, we're going to need sugar, pumpkin spice blend, and eggs. And for the green bean casserole, 1 can is not going to be enough. So I'm going to have to add a couple of the cans we have in our pantry to that. So if I had to guess on a total cost, would probably be closer to $50 or $60. Because if you don't have eggs, you have to buy the eggs. If you don't have milk, you got to buy milk. You definitely got to buy butter, brown sugar, all the things. But still, if you have these staples in your house, most people have eggs, most people have milk, a lot of people have sugar and brown sugar, then you wouldn't have to buy those extra things. And when I was talking to Amanda on the phone, because her husband loves deviled eggs, and she goes, where are the deviled eggs? And I go, well, I guess they didn't add that to the list because you would have to buy the eggs, the mayonnaise, the mustard, the relish, all the things. And that is just going to add to the cost of the Thanksgiving dish. And they wanted to keep it as low as possible. Now, this is a good base to start. And then you can just add the other things your family enjoys. So as for the gravy, we're not using this gravy. We're going to make homemade gravy with chicken broth. And I'll probably either use their chicken broth, or I might use the broth that we get from cooking the turkey itself. Not a fan. There are ingredients in here that I just don't understand why. Like corn protein. Why? Monostate and I can't even read these words. I'm not a fan of this. And as for the stuffing, we're going to make homemade stuffing. We always have dried sourdough bread cubes in the house at all times. So I'm actually going to be using this as our stuffing mix with some onions and celery and carrots, all the things that go into stuffing. So we're not using this. We're not using the stuffing. We're not using the macaroni and cheese. We're not using the gravy mix. We're going to make homemade macaroni and cheese. We're going to make homemade stuffing with our homemade bread cubes. And we're going to make homemade gravy. But everything else on here, we're going to use for dinner. So if you want to see the video of us cooking this delicious Thanksgiving dinner and see if we can feed 10 people a full Thanksgiving dinner, including a dessert, make sure you are subscribed and make sure you hit that notification bell. So when we're ready to get this dinner on the table, you'll be there with us. So until next time, you have a blessed day. Bye, family. Can't wait to bring you back and we get this dinner on the table.